Welcome to the Inside Story on Franchising, with valuable insights on how to create multiple streams of income through franchising and building businesses. Host Ricardo Matos has spent more than 25 years building businesses in multiple industries and helping other business owners succeed. His expertise and entrepreneurial know-how will educate and inspire you. On the show, Ricardo brings together industry experts and insiders who share solutions and strategies, along with a passion for helping entrepreneurs make the best decision when it comes to buying a franchise or any business opportunity, and much more.
Good morning to all listeners. Welcome to the Inside Story of Franchise podcast. Today's guest is Craig Schulze. He's one of the world's leading lifestyle entrepreneurs who have created a lifestyle by design. Throughout Craig's 20 years in business, he's always positioned himself in front of the latest trend, moving from the corporate world of traditional business, owning 5 fitness clubs. Craig now has global business where he has product and shipping all over the United States and other countries, in 100 different countries. Wow. Craig, welcome to the Inside Story of Franchise podcast. How are you, my friend?
Thanks for having me on the show, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you today.
Oh, welcome. First of all, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and who you are and what you are all about and what is it that you actually do for business owners and entrepreneurs and those people who wants to strive forward in business?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like everybody else that grew up wanting to get a good education and get a good job, and I became an engineer. Age 21, working for someone didn't really work for me, so I fired my boss and bought my first business, which was a fitness club. 3 or 4 years into that, I was a multi-award-winning trainer in Australia, and I ended up buying 5 fitness clubs and helped set up 22 franchises and did really, really well in business. I had good mentors, good people around me, and through the global financial crisis, that was a bit of an eye-opening experience for me. Banks stopped lending me money to sell franchises, to do renovations, and I knew then that I wanted to start looking outside the square. So I started selling wellness products to gym clients, and then I did really well there. My 3rd year, I made about $100,000 as a bit of extra income in my gyms. That sort of took me on another journey. And as you mentioned, I've got business now in 100 countries where I've got sell products all around the world. Ended up selling all my fitness clubs in 2015. And now I'm an investor. I'm part owner of a couple of different private companies. I'm a sophisticated property investor with 11 investment properties, and last couple of years, I've been building my personal brand, writing books, speaking, et cetera, and this is where we are today.
Wow, that is a 20 years of experience in a nutshell. Wow, impressive. Tell us about how you were exposed to the franchising, owning or starting a business, and how you began.
How I began, like literally my passion was working with people. So I wanted to be in the fitness industry because I was sort of semi-professional at sport as well. So working as an engineer, sitting behind a desk, that didn't really work as well as I liked. So I just started working in an organization and really liked their model, their concept. And they were a franchised business model, but a very small group. And I think I like their product. I thought, look, this is a really good product in the fitness industry. So I spent about 6 months there and I said, look, I want to buy a franchise now. And I bought that franchise, and then I really helped that company grow. Like they were based in one state. They didn't have the systems. Because I was an engineer, I sort of used my skills to work on developing database ideas and marketing ideas. And then I said, do you want me to help you expand your business into another state of Australia? So I ended up moving from South Australia to Melbourne and set up 22 franchises there. Wow. We were an organization of about 70 franchises when I left. So yeah, 12 years, good model, and love the industry.
So it sounds to me that it looked like you were not only the franchisee, but you became the franchisor. Yeah. Through the process, right?
Yeah, effectively, I become really good friends with the franchisor, and he wanted to scale his business, and he looked at me as, you know, a high performing franchisee. So I've won franchisee of the year 3 times. And I was ready. I was young and excitable, and I didn't have, I guess, family or anything at the time, so it was a good time for me to take a risk. And then I was effectively master
But
franchise.
that brings up a good question. You said you started young, but that does not necessarily mean that because you're young, people should start a business, right? I mean, anyone can start a business at any age, at any level. Do you feel that because you started young in the franchise world, you became successful?
Yeah, look, age doesn't really matter. I had franchisees from all different ages. It gets really, the big thing is around timing and timing in life. Sometimes you get to a point in your profession that you need a sea change. And, you look at situations like 2020 might be that moment where you go, hang on, my job is at risk here. I need to do something else. Maybe I'll work for myself. Maybe I go and start a business. Maybe I go and buy a franchise. So it doesn't really matter when it comes along the journey, but when the time's right, that really just happens differently for everyone. And for me, it happened very early on in my career.
Interesting. So that brings up another question in relation to the process of franchising the business or owning a business. What kind of advice can you give to future franchisees, owners, or franchisors who can establish or grow the business? What can you give as a golden nugget that it will emphasize who they are and what they are to act upon becoming a business owner?
Yeah, look, I think if I was everything I do in business now, so I've invested in private companies. I'm a part owner of probably the biggest entrepreneur education company in Australia, where we teach 0 to 6 figure businesses, but we have a one product to market fit of 7 figures to 8 figure business model as well. But I always look at investments as people. So if I was looking at a franchise now to start a new business with an organization that was established, I would spare no expense on looking into who the franchisor is, what's their track record, have they run businesses before, how long they run business. And that's really important. I think if you're going to get into business that you've got something that's a bit of a passion as well. I think you'll be really excited if you get up every day and go to business doing something you love. And the last thing I'd say there would be make sure that there's a high demand for the product or service that you're going to go into business for. So selling records in 2021 is not that good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I own a franchise too, and I am a business franchise consultant. And one of the key aspects I tell people when they're going to own a business is that work directly with the franchisor's consultant. Okay. Why do I tell people to work with a consultant? And because a consultant will help you to see all different aspects within the financial disclosure document. We tell people that if working with a consultant is the key strategy of being a successful from the get-go, from the beginning, because we have evaluated thousands and thousands of different business franchise. And one of the key essentials that we integrate with people in Seder Bureau Solution, who are the part owners of the Inside Story podcast, is that we like to help involve not only the franchisor, but the franchisee wants it to be in a very cohesive environment. The people who are experts like you, who are being very successful in the franchise world can actually attain all the necessary information that they need to have at moment of making the right decision in business. When you were creating your business entity, how many of the people who were owning the franchise were constantly working with consultants?
At that time, ironically, there wasn't a lot of people that were in Australia within our network. There wasn't many people that went out. Most people went and did due diligence through their accountant, or they might have got a lawyer, but no one actually was really going out to get that expertise. But I'd highly recommend, after 20 years in business, get as much, advice from the right type of people as you possibly can. And if that's a franchisor, a franchisee expert consultant, I would highly recommend that too.
Now, what are the certain criteria that a business must meet before becoming a franchisee?
Look, if I'm franchisor and the criteria, I always just look at the person's desire, their financial background, their track record, their vision. So if they've got a big vision to have success, so I guess not everyone's cut out for business. So I'd really be, and I've experienced this by I had to sell 22 franchises, and there are a lot of people that had the idea that they wanted their own business, but when the whip got cracking and they were in business and challenges and adversity faced them, they weren't really cut out for it. So I really look at their mindset, their personality, their desire, their goals, and I'd challenge them around their ability to deal with challenges, because business, that's going to be a guarantee. Challenges will be a guarantee.
No, I agree with you. One of the things that when I talk to a lot of people and they want a particular franchise in mind, I ask them, what is their background? What have they done in the background? I mean, are you an accountant? Are you an engineer? Are you, in this particular case, you are? But not everybody knows how to flip a burger. If they know how to flip a burger, then will you burn it, right? Now burgers can be built exactly the same way. So, and it's crucial to understand that when you are evaluating a particular franchise model, that is related to something that you can be passionate about, that you can grow with it. I know that you have done a lot of different franchises and you have working with a lot of franchises. How long did it take you as a franchisee to establish your business?
Yeah, look, I think it was my third year. So our business model had pretty much fixed costs. Our equipment costs, our rent, our lease, staffing, etc. sort of was there. So if you had zero clientele, we still had that cost up there, and it took I needed probably 12 months of working capital to sort of like build the membership base to get to that sort of point. The second year, it was making money without making a really good return on your time. And in the third year, it was, for me, I started having choices where I was working 4 days a week and 3 days a week and going in at lunchtime, so I had choices by the end of my third year, and fourth and fifth year, I was highly profitable.
Very nice. And that's a good question, a good answer for that question, because a lot of time people are asking me, when would I determine return on my investment? They think they can get it over time, in a short period of time, when in reality, almost every franchisee or franchisor knows that the majority of the business, it takes, 2 to 3, 4 or 5 years, depending upon how are you marketing, what location you are, and how the structure of the business is in high in demand. If you were to disseminate, or I should say, be more enlightened on what the best spectrum of your franchisee model was that you learned from this aspect of the business to be, should I say, efficient, what was that consideration to make the changes? Does that make sense? How were you able to evaluate within a spectrum of changes? How do you estimate what would need to be right, what would need to be wrong on the alternative of the decision making?
I guess for me, like if I was looking at the franchise or our actual product or service.
I see. That makes sense. And were you always evaluating the overall cost of the runs of the business, profitability, to make that final decision?
Yeah, look, I mean, if I was able to, like, I guess very early on in my business, I got really good people around me. So I had some really good advisory. My accountant and the person, my mentor, who still is 20 years later, were two people that I always bounce my ideas off straight away. So even if I'm investing in properties, in new businesses now, I can make pretty quick business decisions based on looking at a handful of key areas of a business. And I ended up buying 5 franchises myself because I could see the potential in them. A, their location was super good for me. B, the disposable income of the potential clients. So it was a really good product to market fit. And so I ended up buying 5 franchises, and I just looked at the model, the location, the potential clientele, and seeing if they can afford our product or service, and bounce that idea off. Is this going to be a good investment or not? And I make quick business decisions always.
And that's always good, always quick, good decision. So with what you know now, what would you, should I say, what would you change, or what would you do better from what have you learned in the past to achieve the success sooner?
I think for me, the biggest lessons that I learned was I was an aggressive investor. So I took way too much risk on board. So, I always say to people, prepare for a rainy day. And last year was a rainy day for a lot of people. In the global financial crisis, I bought 5 fitness clubs in the space of 18 months, and I had a huge amount of risk. When the global financial crisis came rolling through, the US dollar cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment costs. And so I always say to people now, if you learn how to manage your downside and prepare for a rainy day, because sometimes you just think that business is going to keep going like that all the time, but there's always an economic downturn. There's always busted water main. There's always something that will cost you
freeze, like we had in Atlanta here in Houston.
Yeah. So that's the biggest lesson I always say to people. Like, you may always think that, you're doing really, really well in business, but hey, who would have thought the global pandemic would wipe people out?
So that brings up another question. So what would you say is that if you want to prepare for a rainy day or for the moments of uncertainty, a lot of time people are recommending 6 months of accounts of a total investment, or should I say an account that is there for emergency funds that only would survive for 6 months. Do you think in today's society and everything is going around between political aspect, weather conditions, and everything is going on, they should be saving more before they can even integrate into owning 4 or 5? I mean, you took a huge risk. I assume that back in those days, you have total expenditure for not 6 months, but even for a year, just in case, correct?
At that time, so that was where I learnt my toughest lesson in business, that I didn't prepare for the rainy day. I was very lucky. I had invested well enough in property to be able to use the property debt as security against my business. And that was what helped me get through that tough period. But when I say people get in business, they make cash, and it's like I'm profit in, profit out. It's big cars, big houses, big holidays, and they don't leave themselves in preparation. So I always try and encourage people to make money on money, think for the long term, invest and grow, and make sure that you protect yourself outside of your business. So if your business does hit distressed times, you've got, that preparation happening in the background. So it's really just good money management behaviors, good investment behaviors to put yourself in a really healthy position, because there is going to be another rainy day.
In other words, don't spend all your profit on the first month that you earn it.
Exactly.
Technically, that's what it comes down to.
And it's
a lot of people, that's what they do. They buy a franchise model, and instead of paying the franchise model for the first 2-3 years, they go buy expensive car, expensive house. They go on very expensive vacation. They feel like now we got this, and they think their money is going to come in every single month. But the primary challenge to overcome here is to save for the rainy day, right? Save for the near future, save for that growth of the business, save to expand the business. I recently had a young man who wants to own a franchise, and his main goal was to be comfortable. That's what his comment was. Oh, I just want to own one that makes me enough profit to be comfortable. And the reality is that most people that own one franchise, they don't want to own one. They want to own 2 and 3 and 4. And one of the key challenge aspects there is putting for money for the rainy side, for a rainy day on the side, right? Can you share with us some tips or strategies on how successfully the market of franchise is today for you and anyone else who wants to jump in the franchise world?
Well, I think always, for me, I think business always is the right time. When it's the right time for you, it's the right time to find a business. But I think you really, I guess, engage someone like yourself to go through all the A to Z of what different opportunities, because in the franchising industry, you could be anything from mowing lawns to flipping burgers to franchising accounting practices, looking after pets. There's so many different opportunities, and so some are really low entry, but they're closer to buying yourself a job. And then there's some that are a little bit more higher entry, but they can actually be genuine businesses. Like if you bought a McDonald's franchise, totally different to buying a lawnmower around. You've really got to sit down and work out what's going to work for you.
I have always believed in the upswing and the downswing. If the economy is going on a downswing, I always believe that's the time you should always jump in. And a lot of time people are jumping in on the upswing that is already up, because by the time your economy is going up and you're preparing your franchise to be open into place, for all we know, in the second quarter, it'll be in a downward motion. So by the time you open, you'll be in the downswing where you're not going to make any money. So I always believe that everyone should open their own business on the downswing. So when they're setting up, gradually as they're setting up, the economy is going on the upswing. So when they're ready to open, they're opening on the upswing where they can be profitable. And I don't know if you have experienced that situation in your market. I know a lot of times right now when the economy was crashing, majority of the business were doing very profitable, very highly skilled businesses were succeeding there because they were ahead, right? Now, what can you share with us on this through this pandemic? How you were able to overcome all those challenges?
Well, I mean, in my old industry, the fitness industry, that there was challenging in Australia because we had 10 months where the government locked down fitness clubs. And they weren't allowed to have people go to their venues. So the people that survived in Australia, in the fitness industry in particular, which is where I had all my fitness franchises prior to this, their only survival mode was to go online. And it really was, for a lot of those people, that was for survival only. It wasn't really to, there's so many people going online, and there's so many good celebrity trainers and everything online with really good established programs already. It's pretty hard to compete. So a lot of fitness clubs through the economic downturn, they were just trying to service their existing clients online. So, and that was sort of out of their control. So, that was a government thing that cost them. It wasn't really just the economic downturn.
Yeah, like companies like Peloton, they surpassed because they were set up and prepared for that, right? I mean, franchise business are striving, but there's always one key aspect that it requires to be prepared and to be set up, and you overcome that. Where can our listeners go and learn more about who you are and what you are and how your business integrates?
Yeah, so just my name. So it's www.craigschulze, which is SCHULZE.com. It's pretty much a one-stop shop there. I do a lot of speaking gigs now, podcasts. I've wrote a book. So you can find out pretty much anything about me through that website there.
And so right now, it's your hat, what you're showing as part of your podcast entity of the business?
Yeah, so my one-shot movement, I wrote a book last year called You've Got One Shot, which is you've got one shot at life. Go out there and give it your best shot, whatever it is for you, whether it's to buy a franchise, climb the corporate ladder, whatever it is. That's my sort of, I guess, my message to the world. And my book and my podcast is around that as well.
So right now, in this day and age, you're basically pretty much helping business owners how to become entrepreneurs within business entities. You're not in the market of selling franchise anymore, are you?
No, that's exactly what I'm doing now. So I do speaking gigs. I help do advisory for businesses. So that's sort of most of the stuff that I'm doing at the moment. So I've got,
very much. Well, I want to thank you very much for being part of our podcast. And I look forward to integrate more ideas with you and pick up your brains in the near future and give you a lot of great success. And hopefully we'll go from there to the near future and something greater.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Inside Story on Franchising with your host, Ricardo Matos. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. That way, you'll never miss a new episode, and you can help spread the word to more entrepreneurs like yourself. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you next time.